What up, y'all? This is Reiko, signing back into 6 days of snow. In the last episode, we got ourselves up to the end because we heard our little story that we heard. And this lady, I'm believing, is Mrs. Koyuki. So let's find out. I apologize for arriving so late. My train was delayed. It's quite alright. I expected as much, given all the snow. The woman I presumed was Miss Kakuyuki, not Koyuki, Kakuyuki. Miss Kakuyuki replied, "I'm happy to receive any customers, no matter how late they may arrive. Business has been slow. What do you expect?" she asked, with a touch of weary amusement to her tone. Okay. Her voice was soft, but there was a certain bite to it, some hardness I was not able to pin down. Perhaps a touch of hardness was only to be expected, coming from a woman who had lived in this inn high up in the mountains for so very long. Had she been softer, I wondered, when her husband was still alive. Geez, sometimes I have a little bit of a problem reading stuff, so give me a break. I would never know. Now, Miss Kakuyuki, how can I describe her? Words failed me at the time, and they fail me even now. I suppose if I had to put a single word to it, she was beautiful. She's alright. But that wasn't entirely right. She was the kind of woman who had been beautiful once, beautiful enough to drive men to distraction, but old age had tempered some of her beauty, softening the edges so it no longer had an acute, piercing effect. That was a good thing, I think. Such beauty can be used as a weapon, like an arrow, but this was an arrow whose tip had been sanded smooth. That might hurt. Her hair was dark and glossy, cut into a neat bob reminiscent of Kokeshi doll. It was an unusual choice for an older woman. She must have been in her 40s, but that only served to heighten my interest in her. Her eyes were the color of roasted tea leaves, and they were lined with thick, long lashes. When she blinked, her lashes fluttered in a beguiling manner that cast shadow against her face. Wait, hold on. Are we actually getting a full description of her when she's, like, standing right in front of us? Okay, her skin was pale, and though there were some wrinkles around her mouth, it was unblemished, save for two small holes no bigger than pinheads beneath her right eye. She wore a modest kimono of muted colors and stood there regularly, her hands held at her front. If looked at from afar, one could have been forgiven for thinking she was 10 or 20 years younger than she really was. That's a good... I mean, possibly. But time waits for no man. At any rate, Miss Kakuyuki didn't seem to be the kind of person who steeped herself in her own nostalgia. Everything about her, from her tone of voice to the way she stood, suggested she was far too sensible to bother with such nonsense. She wasn't sentimental. Something about her posture almost seemed to defy sentiment. She wasn't like me. I suppose we were quite a poor match. Why would you even suggest... Okay, you're married, dude. Why would you even think of such a thing? In any event, I hope you enjoy your stay at the Zumi Inn, said Miss Kakuyuki. It was a line she must have delivered many times, and she said it beautifully. Like a skilled artisan might pluck a heart-rending melody from a koto. I must confess, I felt rather abashed. I had been imagining in my city-born and bred hubris that the folk who reside in the countryside were simpler than I, somehow. I had been wrong. "I am Kakuyuki Kayo," she said, by means of making my acquaintance, though there was a certain reticence to her tone. "It's nice to meet you." "Likewise," I said, bowing my head. "My name is Tanabe Eiji." "Mr. Tanabe," Miss Kakuyuki repeated, with a small nod of her head. When she said my name, commonplace though it was, its properties seemed to change in some curious manner. European alchemists might have striven for years to turn base metal into gold, but Miss Kakiyuki has succeeded in a certain kind of thaumaturgy of her own. You're getting all this just by a simple greeting? Okay. This guy is, I know this guy's a writer, but geez, that is a little too observant. Well, if I need to introduce myself further, I have been running the Azumi Inn for some 14 years, ever since the death of my husband. I'm sure Yasuke has told you about that already. She knows the guy. She knows our taxi driver. He might have mentioned a thing or two, yes. You don't need to spare my feelings. I know what the people around here say. They enjoy their gossip. There's not much else to gossip about. I don't think Mr. Hanada meant anything by it. He was just making conversation. At my expense of my dignity, I don't doubt. Said Miss Kakiyuki icily. Jeez. Yeah, that is kind of rude. Though Yasuki hadn't said anything incriminating, I found myself feeling guilty, as if I had conspired against her. Let us move on from this subject, she said, noticing my discomfort. It is unpleasant, particularly after such a long journey. Now, Miss Keki explained, well, yeah, if we're gonna have that kind of a long journey of just watching snow and the snow go by, it is kind of a bad experience journey. Now let's move on from the subject, she said, noticing my discomfort. Okay, I already know. Alright, Miss Kaiki explained the general running of the inn to me. When meals were prepared, where the hot springs were, and who to speak to if I had a complaint. While I nodded dumbly, stunned into silence. So, she said, once she had finished her short business spiel, I trust this is satisfactory? That is more than satisfactory, thank you, I said, stuttering. Jeez. Oh, now she's smiling, ha 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 ha. Why was I stuttering? Being around Miss Kakiyuki held under her the steady gaze of her dark brown eyes, I had the most incredible effect upon me. This guy's stuttering. I'm not. Normally, I'm the one that's stuttering. I felt not like a grown man with 2 sons, but a naughty... Whoa, jeez. But a naughty child being scolded by my father for playing too zealously about this... Zelkova. I'm playing about the Zelkova tree in our garden. Miss Kakiyuki was probably a few years younger than I, but she regarded me archly, like one who had seen far more than I could ever imagine. I know it might not sound rather harsh, but I understood immediately why the residents of the nearby village didn't like her very much. She was not a likable woman. She is pretty cold, really. That's the honest truth. I shall get Reiko to show you to your room. She may as well make herself useful. Listen. Cold! This woman is cold! And very harsh. Wow, okay. With that declaration, the properties turned. Her bobbed hair fluttered and called out in the tones what made an emperor balk. Reiko, we have a customer. There was a shuffling of feet as Reiko hastened to answer her mother's call. I pictured her as skinny and uncomfortably so, with big eyes and lips pulled into a permanent frown, her head bent and her gait stumbling. But the Reiko who answered Miss Kaki's summons was rather different. My imagination had betrayed me yet again. She was rather young, that much was true. Still a teenager, I suppose, and she was slight, but not in an awkward manner. She actually looks really nice. That is really nice. Was that a lotus flower? That's a lotus flower. Oh, that is pretty. Yeah. That's pretty okay. Whoa, what the heck I do? Not again. Sorry, guys. Okay. Her limbs were pale and slender, and she moved like a little ballerina. Yes, you called, Mother? She looked just like Miss Kaki did, or had done. I imagine before old age had seen fit to sap away her youthful charms. Reiko even had a beauty mark beneath her eye, though it was located under her left, not her right. And she only has one. Other than that, it was an almost perfect facsimile of her mother's, like she was some kind of copy. A homunculus child raised in a glass jar. You are making a lot of strange assumptions here, but these thoughts were rather too fanciful. This is Mr. Tanabe, said Miss Kakiki, gesturing towards me. He has recently arrived from Tokyo. Can you take his bag and show him to his room? It's the one you were preparing early on the west side. Of course, said Reiko, with a small bow of her head. I shall do it at once. Ah, she jumped. Had a little bit of physics, okay. She bent to pick up my bag, first brushing the sleeve of her kimono to one side, when... No. That will never do. I flinched at the reprimand. She was now halfway between retrieving my case and standing straight up. The sleeves of her kimono were still rolled back, and I could see her arms. They were as pale as the snow that fell outside, shot through the delicate blue veins. Though I wanted to, I could not bring myself to look away. When you are picking up luggage, Reiko, you shouldn't let your sleeves bunch over your elbows. It's unseemly, said Miss Kayuki. I am sorry. Wow. Don't apologize, said Miss Kayuki, for I have told you this time and time again. Try to remember next time, please. Jeez. Very strict, too. Alright. Reiko sounded so despondent, any words of reassurance I might have thought to offer died on my tongue. I had already divined during this perfunctory of greetings that her mother scolded her quite a lot. Most likely. Reiko led me to my room in silence, my suitcase held in her arms. If the case was heavy for her, I did not know. She didn't slow down, and neither did she seem hampered by her burden. Her footsteps were slow and regular, like that of old clockwork, hemmed by her kimono. She could only take short, dainty steps, right foot in front of the left, then the left in front of the right, then repeat. Okay. I followed along behind her like an attentive schoolboy. The wooden hallway was dimly lit, and I could hear the sound of the wind whistling outside. My footsteps made the floor creak ominously. I tried to think of things to say, but nothing sounded quite right. Man, is that noise coming from the outside? I'm sorry I didn't notice that before. Jeez Louise. If so, then that's one heck of a storm. The weather's awful around here, isn't it? Would have been too pedestrian. You really do have beautiful eyes. Would have been far too forthcoming. Is your mother always like that? Would have been too personal. Despite having many things I wanted to say, I could say nothing. I didn't know why, but I wanted to talk to this girl. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was the way she had flinched when her mother had spoken to her. And really, she must have been lonely. Where is this gonna take us? If Yasuki suspected Miss Kakichi of melancholia, then what about her daughter? Reiko's hair fluttered behind her, inky black like a veil in the darkness. But though she was small, Reiko did not tarry in her much. Instead, she continued, as quiet as a mirror and just inscrutable. Tap, tap, tap. Even back then, I was enamored with her. Maybe it was the romance of the situation. How could you blame me? Dude! You're married and you're talking about romance. What is wrong with you? There was something very poetic about Reito's plight. An upcoming beauty, hidden from prying eyes. Lost amidst the ice and snow. Okay, tap, tap. After 20 seconds or so, I thought it seemed like longer. Reiko's footsteps stopped. And that's where we are gonna stop here, guys, okay? Oh, well, alright. So we're getting a bit of a backstory, sort of. Yeah. We're apparently being very, very perceptive and yeah, just perceptive, maybe. Oh, well, that's all I have for today, guys. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, press that like button, like it, and as always, stay active, stay connected, guys. I'll see you on the next one. This is Reiko, signing out. Bye, y'all!